to the Unknown Experience. Hope you're all doing well. Today, or well, tonight, we are taking a look at the Inspiration 4 mission, which is taking off in about an hour's time, a tiny bit less, to be honest. While I'm checking the settings on my sound, I'm going to put on, let me just get this straight.
Until launch. Welcome to the coverage
I'm going to ask
for
you to
the
listen to
mission
these
known
guys
as
for a second while I check my settings quickly.
all civilian mission to space. Liftoff time is still holding for 8:02 p.m. Eastern time, and we're tracking no issues with Falcon 9 or Dragon. The range is green. The weather is cooperating. Over the last 3 hours, Jared Isaacman, Dr. Sian Proctor, Hayley Arceneaux, and Chris Sembroski donned their SpaceX spacesuits in our brand new SpaceX suit-up room, and were then transported to enter the SpaceX Dragon spacecraft, which you've been seeing live on your screen the past few hours.
Okay, I promise we'll get back to the launch before it happens, way before. But in the meantime, let me introduce you to the crew that's going to board, or well, have boarded the Crew Dragon. Now, the Crew Dragon is being launched on a Falcon rocket. Those of you that do know the technical stuff behind this, I'm going to ask you to bear with me, because I'm going to explain just how it's going to operate and how it works. Apologies, it's summer, well, turning into summer now, so I've got a lot of insects, and this is South Africa, so yeah. But in any case, I'm going to introduce you to the crew before I explain the technical aspects of this mission. Okay, so the space commander for this mission is also the sponsor of this mission, is Jared Isaacman, and the work that goes along with him is leadership. Chief Medical Officer is Hayley. I'm not sure about the pronunciation of her surname, but it's on screen. I'm not going to butcher her surname. And the word that goes along with her is Hope. It's quite an interesting story that goes along with Hayley. She was actually a patient at a hospital, St. Jude's. She was a cancer survivor. She actually had bone cancer as a child, and she was treated at this hospital, and actually today she's working at this specific hospital where she treats children that was diagnosed with cancer. And then the pilot for this mission is Sian Proctor, and she's actually a doctor. The word that goes along with her is prosperity. Then the mission specialist for this mission is Sembroski. The word that goes along with him is generosity. He was actually selected through the, well, let's put it like this, lottery. So he was basically selected through the fundraising exercise where they aim to raise up to $200 million for the St. Jude's hospital. And let me just get back to the screen, yeah? I'm gonna put you back onto the SpaceX screen so we can stay on track in terms of what's happening. But I want you guys to keep in mind, let me just get a different background for us to look at. They are flying on a Dragon capsule. The specific capsule has been used previously. It actually splashed down in May, and it was refitted with a glass dome. They call it a cupola, and this specific dome is the largest glass window that was ever installed in a spacecraft. So it's the largest glass dome that's ever went to space. So this glass dome basically fits in where this Dragon usually locks into the International Space Station. So it's going to act as a viewing window for the astronauts on board. And there you can see Inspiration 4 in the background with a Dragon capsule. This Dragon capsule that you see on screen is not the one that's been refitted. Well, it might be, I'm not sure, but that's an actual Dragon capsule in space. Okay, so now I'm gonna just quickly get back
going to
what's
space,
happening
and
in
I'm
space.
a regular person.
This is
I
Hayley.
am so lucky that I got a phone call asking if I wanted to go to space. I'm from Louisiana. I was a super active, super outgoing kid, involved in everything. And I actually had just gotten my black belt in Taekwondo a couple days before I was diagnosed with cancer. I definitely am excited to represent those that aren't physically perfect. I want to bring this experience back and share with everyone I encounter and just what this represents for the new age in space travel and who can be an astronaut. I've thought a lot about launch day. I've even had some dreams about launch day, and I still don't know what will be going through my mind. I know I'm going to be incredibly excited. And of course, I have the windows.
Just going to turn down the volume for a second. There's quite a few firsts on this specific mission. And in terms of Hayley, she's the first human being to go to space with a prosthetic. She's actually got an internal prosthetic limb on one of her legs. I think it's on her left leg, I'm speaking under correction. And the spacesuits that these astronauts wear is actually custom made. And on her specific spacesuit, her one knee is actually, it's been made a bit smaller than the other one to custom fit her. I think it's with this mission, it's basically to prove that the time is coming closer when normal human beings, people that's not super fit, can go to space much more easily. And it's not like these specific 4 individuals did not have any training. In fact, they had up to 10 months training, and they actually did pretty much exactly the same training that the NASA astronauts do before they board flights on the Dragon.
As an amateur astronomer, he grew up with a natural curiosity about outer space, and even worked as a...
And this is Chris, like you can see on the background. He's actually a military vet. He served in the US Air Force. He's currently working, I can't remember exactly where now. He's from Seattle.
Let's meet Chris, the Inspiration 4 mission specialist.
He's the mission specialist.
When I found out I was going to space, I was dumbfounded. I think I was just struck dumb for...
He's actually not the one that won the actual lottery. He did buy a ticket or donate money towards the St. Jude's cause, but one of his friends apparently won the prize and he didn't want to go to space, and he basically gave the opportunity to Chris.
6 to 8 miles away, you can still feel that rumble pounding through your chest. That kind of just shifted my foundation a little bit, and I knew from there on out I had to be somehow a part of space. Whether it was helping support a mission or lobbying for folks to be able to go into space, that's where I wanted to be. Of course, I'm going to be looking down at my home in Western Washington. I'm also looking to see what I don't see, and that's going to be lines on a map. Those walls that seem to separate all of us, ideologically, politically, or even geographically or physically. Those don't exist when you get far enough out. And I'm really hoping to bring back that sense of what it means to only have that one small line that matters to all of us, and that's the atmosphere that keeps us separated from the vacuum of space. As we get to launch day,
They can say what they want, but I still believe these astronauts are quite nervous.
Yeah, I'm going to be shaking with excitement.
I mean, we all know the history. There was quite a few accidents in the past. I know they're excited, I would be as well, but yeah, you never know anything can happen. Let's hope it doesn't.
For someone who exemplified the entrepreneurial spirit.
Actually, this Crew Dragon is designed for 7 astronauts, but on this particular mission, they installed extra cargo space.
Educator, poet, artist, and active voice in the space exploration community. She's passionate about encouraging others to use their unique space to inspire.
Sian Proctor, and she's a geologist as well. It's quite an impressive resume. Her father actually worked in Guam. I think she was born, or at least some part of her childhood she spent there. And her father worked for NASA. He actually relayed signals for the Apollo missions in the 60s and 70s. And one thing she's actually taking with her to space is a signed note from Neil Armstrong that he gave to her dad, where we basically thanked him for his help.
For the prosperity that I was going to go to space with him and be part of the Inspiration 4. It really was like getting the golden ticket for Willy Wonka. Everything in my life finally came into focus, and I realized that it was all about this moment in time. I won the prosperity seat for Inspiration 4, and I did that not as a geoscientist or an explorer or an analog astronaut, which are all on my resume. I actually won this.
Like I said, all these spacesuits were custom made for these specific astronauts. Astronauts, that's a new word.
Diverse and inclusive space, or a Jedi space. I'm going to be the first black female pilot of a spacecraft ever. And to me, that just blows me away. And I want to encourage the next generation to dream that this is possible. And a Jedi space,
I wonder if they get to keep those spacesuits.
and I'm the mission pilot for Inspiration.
If they do, they can probably auction it off for quite a bit.
Coming up on T-minus 45 minutes. We're waiting for the launch director to give instructions to the team.
The team is ready for crew access arm, propellant load, and
44 minutes until launch.
no-go conditions. Breathe the CE
Okay, let's get the technicalities out of the way. So this is a 2-stage rocket, Falcon rocket. The first stage comes back to land. It separates after about 2 minutes, 40 seconds after launch. And the job of the first stage is to get the Dragon craft into space. And once it separates, it comes back in and lands on a drone ship. I think this one's going to land on a drone ship. I'm not sure if it's going to land on land. The engines they use on the Falcon rockets are Merlin engines, and if I'm not mistaken, it's Merlin 1D engines, and it's got 9 engines. Where the name comes from, Falcon 9 rocket, or Star Wars combined with the 9 engines, Merlin engines. And once the second stage separates from the first stage, the Merlin engine on the second stage ignites, and that's a vacuum Merlin engine. There you can see the platform disconnecting from the Dragon. Keep in mind, these 4 astronauts have been sitting in the Dragon for about 3 hours once it takes off. If it wasn't for nerves, they would probably fall asleep. Let's hear what they say.
Range is ready to support. All systems remain green and go.
I think they are probably going to start feeling now if they haven't already, but I think it's still to begin.
Arm continuing to move away. Once it's in position, we ought to hear the instructions to the crew to close and lock the visors, and then arm the escape system on the Dragon spacecraft.
The countdown clock is continuing to tick, and we are now at T-minus 42 minutes from launch. We're standing by the crew arm. The crew access arm has retracted, and that is one of the last major visual milestones that we'll see in preparation for liftoff. And it's slowly moving back here. Should conclude shortly. And shortly thereafter, once the crew arm has been retracted, we should hear the call out that the launch escape system is armed. And from there, we'll hear that Falcon 9 prop load has started.
We saw our Inspiration 4 crew members suit up about 3 hours ago in our brand new suit up room located in the Falcon support building.
Access arm retraction complete.
That is good news. The crew access arm has finished retracting away from the vehicle. So the team suited up at...
You are go for section 7 of 4.100. Close visors and arm the launch escape system.
In Covenant SpaceX, we're go for section 7 of 4.100. We're closing visors.
Falcon is the only orbital, reusable orbital rocket at this stage. And the aim of reusability is to make space accessible. In other words, to make it cheap. Well, compared to previous rockets, it's almost for free, although it's expensive for the normal guy.
Recovery out in the ocean. We're waiting now for the call out. The launch escape system is armed.
Yeah, John, you mentioned the launch escape system, and
Launch escape system is verified armed.
That's the thing with the Falcon rockets. They actually have a launch escape system, which is something the Starship, once operational, will not have. And that's why NASA will require quite a bit of proof before they put human beings on a Starship.
And again, this is the first of its kind escape system to provide this escape capability all the way to orbit. You can hear the team here is getting really excited as we march towards T0.
So the launch escape system, let's talk a little bit more about that. It utilizes the Super Draco engines that are installed into the Dragon capsule.
Now, so the Super Draco engines that they speak of is for the launch escape system. They also use Draco engines or thrusters to move the Dragon capsule into position or different positions in orbit. The capsule is going to end up at 575 kilometers above Earth. That's higher than the International Space Station, and I think the Hubble telescope as well. And the whole thing about this is not just about getting these people into space, these civilians. But I know they say civilians, but these 4 people actually had so much training, I wouldn't even classify them as civilians anymore.
Procedures. So
38
we're
minutes
not
to go.
expecting to use them today, but we do take safety very seriously, and we take every measure possible to ensure that the crew has options.
So the thing is, once they're in orbit, they are going to do quite a few experiments, medical experiments mostly, to see how human body reacts to zero gravity. And the thing is, you might think this has already been done, but the thing is, usually the information that's taken from those experiments are kept by the company or the country that sent the mission into space. And this time around, they can share that information to anyone that wants to research. And this is extremely advantageous for advancement, and especially in terms of getting the human race ready for future space flight and space travel. So that's one of the things they are going to do once they're in orbit. They're not just going to play around.
One thing while we've got a moment, we were talking about Super Dracos and contingency aborts. You will hear call-outs probably during the ascent, stage 1A, stage 2A, stage 1B. That just means various points in time.
Please do me a favor of smashing the like button, and if you're interested in space content or tech content or interesting content, just subscribe.
So when you hear those, it's usually the crew giving the call out and the ground echoing it. That just indicates we are moving farther and farther away from the launch pad. And so if a contingency arose, different sequences would be performed in the Dragon flight computer. Right now, we're just 90 seconds away from the start of propellant loading. We're at T-minus 36 minutes, 26 seconds. Everything continues to look good. For Crew Dragon's fourth launch with people, today the first all-civil mission to low Earth orbit. Now we should hear a call out right at T-minus 35 minutes when propellant load begins. Propellant loading will start on the first stage with liquid oxygen and RP1 kerosene fuel. We'll also begin loading kerosene fuel on the second stage. And it'll take us a little bit deeper into the countdown before we put liquid oxygen onto the second stage. And everything wraps up inside the last 10 minutes with the very last propellant finishing up at just T-minus 2 minutes.
So there on your screen is the Falcon 9 rocket at pad 39A, and at the very top is the Crew Dragon capsule where the Inspiration 4 crew awaits liftoff in just about 35 minutes. Again, if you're just joining us, this is the first all-civilian mission to orbit, aka these are non-professional astronauts. They're people like you and me that are they're going to be going up.
Might be non-professional astronauts, but these guys had quite a bit of training actually.
3 full days. So you can hear the voices in the background here that are getting a little loud.
Hayley,
Excitement in the building here at SpaceX headquarters is certainly growing.
Passenger that represents hope. They actually refer to it as Jiggle, if I'm not mistaken. They had some training in jets.
The fill and drain valves for the first and second stage fuel tanks.
And she basically begged the pilot to push the jet as much as he could. I think she went up to 8 Gs.
That'll continue all the way down to T-minus 2 minutes. We'll hear call-outs and bring status as we go through the countdown. But currently, everything looking good at pad 39A for the launch of the Inspiration 4 crew in just over 34 minutes.
So our crews, like Kate mentioned, are at the top of the vehicle, sitting inside of the Dragon capsule. Jared, Sian, Hayley, and Chris have been training for this journey pretty much ever since the announcement that they've all been selected as crewmates for the Inspiration 4 mission in March. What's super cool is that they are going through the same exact Dragon training as our NASA astronauts. In order to get to visit low Earth orbit, our teams at SpaceX have spent hundreds of hours teaching the crew about orbital
Same training as the NASA.
Microgravity, and even running simulations of what a full mission would look like while seated inside of Dragon.
Apologies, you might hear some dogs barking in the background. Unfortunately, this live stream, there's nothing I can do about it.
12-hour end-to-end simulation in our Dragon trainer. They trained not only at SpaceX, but they also did a few other trainings, centrifuge training. They flew some fighter jets together, did some aerobatics in these jets, some flips, and experienced some real G's before this mission today.
Yeah, they even got to pilot the jets themselves, which was super cool to see.
They also completed a zero-G flight, which you could see them there, almost like superheroes. They even climbed Mount Rainier in Washington, which looks like a very difficult hike.
Yes, I think during the docu-series, it was almost a whiteout condition, but they kept trekking along. It was
Took them about
almost
10 hours to get up the mountain. They stayed there for about 3 days,
that you can do up in Washington.
and that's quite a challenge for someone that's got a prosthetic like Hayley. But she did quite good. She was actually one of, well, she did the best between the 4, I think.
Lifting off in just over 30 minutes from now. This team has studied nearly 100 different training lessons covering all aspects of the mission. At the end of training each week, the crew recorded video diaries of their experiences. In their own words, here's the crew talking about their various training over the last 6 months.
Jared Isaacman here, Commander Inspiration 4, and we're like 4 months and a day away from our intended launch date.
This week was really intense because we had a lot of the systems. We got to go into the sim.
Going through some CRM training and looking at what the mission overview is going to look like.
Talked a lot about teamwork and the SpaceX culture.
Week 2 of training at SpaceX complete. This was a heavy week.
I just completed another week at SpaceX, and it was intense.
A lot of good building blocks. So you start in the beginning of the week with smaller things like comms to, okay, some circumstances are not so good, and then some get really bad where you have to plan an emergency orbit, which we initiate ourselves in that.
But man, challenging. I didn't realize how much upper body strength I need, so I need to hit the gym the next couple of months and build up some more muscles.
Today was my favorite day of training because today was the medical training day.
Learn some more about some of the medical experiments we're going to be working with, and helping to advance what we know about humans in spaceflight.
We've all contributed all sorts of fluids now to the greater scientific cause.
But the best part is we all got in our spacesuits together.
We got to wear spacesuits, strap into the simulator, and feel like we were actually going to space.
Hello again, Chris here, and it's August 2nd, 2021, 44 days from our launch here in September. Everything keeps going to plan, and it's been an incredible week last week, working with SpaceX teams down at Kennedy Space Center, and then back here in Hawthorne this week for some sims.
This spacesuit that I got fitted for about 7 months ago, I actually get to see and try on and do a bunch of maneuvers in it to make sure that it's comfortable and that I can move. And I am just so excited for this because, I mean, this is the spacesuit I'm going to wear leaving the planet.
I'm just so honored and thankful and grateful to be a part of this historic mission and a part of the SpaceX team.
Y'all are working so hard to get to Mars and beyond. We want to provide great data, and we're really excited to be part of this.
All right, well, thanks everybody for a fantastic time here in Hawthorne, and also down at Kennedy. We've been doing some training down there as well, so I really appreciate everything you guys been doing.
This is my final call here from SpaceX. So Brooke signing off.
So incredible to get an inside look to their training. Only 553 humans have been to orbit, and most of those traveled as part of government or country-specific missions. As a result, the research conducted on those missions, particularly as it relates to space, is often only accessible by the country or government that conducted research. Think about the possibilities
If Starship is successful, once it's operational, it's going to take some time to get it man-rated.
The crew of Inspiration 4 will conduct research in orbit.
I'm going to leave you for a second. I'm going to let these guys speak for a second. I'll be back just now. Just going to get something to drink.
Is that all biomedical data collected during the mission, things like heart rhythm and rate, blood oxygen saturation, among other things, will be accessible for research.
And to that end, SpaceX and the Inspiration 4 crew are partnering with TRISH, the Translational Research Institute for Space Health, to collect data and biological samples from the crew before, during, and after this historic space flight. Part of NASA's Human Research Program, TRISH is a virtual institute that finds and funds disruptive science and medical technology in order to reduce health and performance risks in space explorers.
Yeah, we saw Kate with Diana earlier putting on some really colorful sunglasses. They're not really sunglasses, but it was an experiment about how do we understand motion sickness and sort of the ups and downs in space. That is something I'm super excited about because I get a lot of motion sickness here, so I'm hoping that helps a lot of people.
To see firsthand some of the equipment that the crew has in their cargo hold. Like we've said before, this is a science mission in addition to it's a 3-day science mission basically. And one of the other things that Diana showed us was the ultrasound reader and how the intracranial fluid changes while you're in space. So lack of gravity essentially means that instead of the fluids in your body being concentrated towards your feet, they kind of they equalize towards your head, which can affect vision. And they are planning to use that ultrasound reader, which they just plug right into an iPad to do readings live inside Crew Dragon of their eyeballs while they're in space for 3 days.
That was so cool to see.
Yeah.
In addition to all the awesome science going up on today's mission, the Inspiration 4 team is also using this mission to bring awareness and help fundraise for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. The Children's Research Hospital opened in Memphis, Tennessee in 1962, and ever since has been committed to finding cures for kids with cancer and other life-threatening diseases, regardless of their socioeconomic status, race, belief, or ethnicity. St. Jude has invented treatments that help push the overall childhood cancer survival rate from 20% to more than 80% in the United States. In developing countries, that number is unfortunately not that high, with fewer than 1 in 5 children with cancer surviving. St. Jude has a bold mission to change that.
The Inspiration 4 mission is part of an ambitious fundraising goal to give hope to all kids with cancer and other life-threatening diseases. The goal is to raise $200 million for St. Jude. Jared already committed $100 million. Jared already committed $100 million of his own money, and the team has raised about $30 million so far, but we still have a ways to go. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll notice that there's a donation button where you can make your own contribution. Any amount, big or small, makes a big difference, and it's super easy to do. So go ahead and click the donate button and give what you can to help save a child's life.
Beyond the good this mission will do for science and childhood cancer, this mission is also exciting because it's the debut of the new Dragon cupola. I think we have some footages here of the cupola. It is going to be the largest continuous window in space ever by a factor of 2 and has over 2,000 square inches of viewing area.
Yeah, and there's a lot that went into the design for this. This is going to outer space, so it needs to be designed and tested for all the loads that it will see while it's out in space. It's a great view to look out of, but it also needs to act as a fully functioning portion of the spacecraft.
Yeah, we were talking about reusability earlier, and this capsule is being used for the second time on this mission. It previously supported the Crew 1 mission in November of last year, but this cupola is brand new to this capsule, brand new to SpaceX. We're debuting it on this mission, and it is there's a view of it there in an anechoic chamber, and it's just incredible that we're basically going to have 360 views of space from the forward hatch there of the Crew Dragon capsule. And this is an animation showing how its position in Crew Dragon is a little different. So Crew Dragon used to dock autonomously, or does dock autonomously to the International Space Station, that port there being underneath the nose cone, and that was removed, and for this mission is now replaced by the cupola, as we just saw. So super cool new piece of hardware that I'm so stoked to see launch here.
As we await T0 in about 23 minutes, the ground operations team are doing a series of system checks to make sure both Dragon and Falcon 9 are ready for launch. Let's take a look at what the ascent portion of the mission will look like.
Once we hit T0, we will watch Falcon 9 and Dragon lift off from historic launch pad 39A and make their ascent. At about 50 seconds into flight, Falcon 9's engines will throttle down to help pass through.
It's 2 o'clock in the morning over here, if you were wondering.
Or what we typically refer to as max Q. And it's worth noting that once we hit max Q, the vehicle will be going supersonic.
Once we are through the
It's arguably the most important launch in SpaceX history.
we are about 2.5 minutes into flight, and we have a series of 3 events that happen in rapid succession.
22 minutes to go.
Is MECO or main engine
Apparently busy fueling, looks like it.
shut off in preparation for stage separation.
Do me a favor, smash the like button.
With the first stage making its way back to Earth for landing, as the second stage continues on its journey with the third event.
Which is SCS-1 or Second Engine Start 1, and that is where the Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage lights up and propels the second stage along with our Inspiration 4 crew to orbit. As Stage 2 heads towards its targeted drop-off orbit, Stage 1 will execute 2 burns in order to make its way back to Earth. The first is the entry burn, which is where 3 of those 9 Merlin 1D engines will reignite and then shut down, and that'll help slow the stage down in preparation for entry back into the Earth.
I just love the landings of these boosters. The whole reusability aspect of SpaceX. Just wish some other companies would pick up on it and become competition to SpaceX. I mean, competition drives evolution.
The landing burn, a single engine burn, will bring the vehicle speed down rapidly in order to land on the drone ship about 9.5 minutes into the mission.
While Falcon 9 first stage is landing, Dragon is preparing to separate from the second stage. At about
Like the explanations they give there before the launch, so people can understand how it actually works. People in general think it's as simple as climbing onto a rocket and going straight up and going into space. They don't understand dynamics behind getting to space. They sound excited. I wouldn't mind being on
We do expect to see our first glimpse of the Dragon Cupola in outer space at this time.
Sorry if the volume goes up and down.
T-minus
Just give me a shout in the comment section if the volume is too loud on the browser. Or my volume.
Now we're under 20 minutes to lift off. Been a wonderful day for today's Inspiration 4 mission. The first civilian mission to space. And if you joined us earlier in the broadcast, we had a pretty important question for the Inspiration 4 crew that remains unresolved. For those of you who missed that, here's your chance to weigh in.
If I had to choose between Star Wars, Star Trek, and then one of my other favorites is Stargate as G1, I would rather trek across the universe than fight my way.
Oh, Stargate was actually quite
Star Wars guy,
back in the 80s.
Those used to be true. I really think I'm a Battlestar Galactica guy, to be honest.
Battlestar Galactica was good. Tell me in the comments what was your favorite. Battlestar Galactica, Stargate, Star Wars, Star Trek.
Star Wars and Star Trek. I don't know if anyone else would drop
Star Trek, Stargate, I liked them. Not a big Star Wars fan.
I think Jared is Star Wars. Sian is Star Wars. Chris is the wild card, but I think he's Star Wars.
Jared is definitely Star Wars. I think Chris is probably Star Trek, but I'm not 100% sure. And I would think that Hayley, she's the youngest. So I think maybe Star Wars. I think Star Trek is too old for her.
Oh, I'm Star Trek. All the way. I wanted to be Bones. I kind of am. I'm medical officer, so.
I don't know if we're like completely unified around that. I mean, there's other, sci-fi, spacey stuff that comes before Star Trek.
Okay.
They don't know they're wrong. Like that's just they'll learn that over time.
I like Jared's last little comment there. They don't know they're wrong. When you're the commander of the mission, I wonder what your vote counts. Just under T-minus 18 minutes, everything continues to go well. We're getting ready to start box loading on the second
17 minutes.
That'll bring us another step closer to launch at 8:02:56 p.m. Eastern Daylight
Keep in
Savings
mind,
Time.
this mission, these people on board, they're not really piloting the mission as such. It's pretty much totally automated. But they have been trained to intervene if they should need to.
Looking through the windows and the cupola up there on the Inspiration 4 Dragon.
This crew will see about 15 orbits a day at this altitude. They'll get to experience 15 sunrises and 15 sunsets, which should be pretty incredible. And just as a comparison, John mentioned the International Space Station is going to be a little bit lower than where this crew is going to. Because the International Space Station is closer, it takes a little less time to orbit the Earth, so they see 16 orbits a day, relative to what this Inspiration 4 crew will see will be 15 orbits a day.
I do want to comment on what we're seeing on screen. This is the Falcon 9 rocket. That was called for stage 2 liquid oxygen loading. You can start to see some white clouds around Falcon 9. That is normal and expected for us at this stage in the countdown. We are topping off that super chilled liquid oxygen, and when it reaches the warmer ambient air temperatures of Florida, it starts to condense and form those clouds that you see.
Now, if you notice that the second stage there is a slightly whiter shade than the first stage, that's because the first stage has been reused twice before. It previously supported the GPS 3.4 and GPS 3.5 missions back in 2020 and 2021 of this year. So that booster is making its third flight today. The Dragon capsule is making its second flight. It previously flew on the NASA Crew 1 mission to the International Space Station. So that's why the second stage looks a little different than the first stage there.
Just some info on the Dragon capsule.
And if you're just
you'll
now
see the one
joining
side
us,
of
you
the
are tuned in to the first all-civilian mission to orbit.
Sorry, the one side of the Dragon capsule is darker colored than the other one. That's actually the side that contains the solar panels that power the capsule. Yeah, so
covering the action at T-minus 4 hours with the crew walking out of Hangar X. They made their way.
I'm quite interested or curious to see how the dome is going to hold up in space. It's after all the first time they're launching a Dragon capsule with a glass dome into space. But it's been tested. They showed some of the tests that they did on this dome, cupola as they call it.
They're people just like us, and they're going to be going to space for 3 days. They're going to be orbiting Earth at 17,500 miles per hour. So they're basically going so fast that they won't fall back to Earth until we tell Dragon to do so. And they're going to be going up to a height of 575 kilometers.
Yep, and at those speeds and at those altitudes, they're going to be doing tons of science, which is super cool. And all of that data is going to be available for folks to continue to push the boundaries of what human space exploration will be in their near future.
So that's a live view of Falcon 9 with Crew Dragon for the Inspiration 4 mission sitting on top. There we can see our 4 soon-to-be astronauts there, comfortable in their seats. Throughout the day, we have seen a lot of camaraderie, a lot of joking, and I imagine that things are starting to get a little more serious. They're really focusing in on the task at hand, which is going to space in just a little over 13 minutes.
Yeah, this is very exciting. If you've been following along, They do have a Netflix documentary
So
following their
13
journey
minutes
all the
to
way
go.
up until this point. And the crew has just been so incredible. It's been so amazing to watch them throughout this whole process, and very excited to see them strapped in their seats, ready to go.
We're just inside T-minus 13 minutes, counting down. Everything is still looking good for launch of Falcon 9 and Dragon at 8 hours, 2 minutes, 56 seconds Eastern Daylight Saving Time, coming up very shortly.
Apologies for the echo.
Falcon 9 did begin propellant loading on time at T-minus 35 minutes. Loading of the RP1 kerosene fuel onto the second stage is complete. That closed out right on time. Fuel loading is continuing on the larger first stage.
I wonder
tank.
if
It's about
that's
half full
nerves
right
or
now.
excitement.
That'll finish at T-minus 6 minutes. We ought to hear that call out on the webcast. We're continuing to load densified liquid oxygen
Compared to
onto
the
the
shuttle,
first stage and into the second stage tanks.
Dragon capsule looks
Now,
quite
the
more
liquid
than
oxygen
inside
load will
roll.
wrap up at about T-minus 3 minutes
All
on
the
first
touch
stage,
screens and
T-minus 2
stuff,
minutes on the
with all
second
the
stage.
buttons that
Now, a
the
reminder,
NASA
now that
missions
we are
have
into
on the
propellant
shuttle.
loading, we cannot stop the countdown and try to launch later in the window. So if a problem arises that requires holding the countdown clock, those dreaded words, hold, 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 we don't want to hear, we would have to scrub for the night and try again.
Yeah.
We have a launch
So,
opportunity
yeah,
tomorrow, just
that's
a little
pretty
bit later,
accurate.
if conditions allow.
Because it's like 2
Condition
o'clock in the
Falcon
morning
9
over
being
here.
go, the range is go.
Smash the like
Weather.
button
We've had
and
great
please subscribe.
cooperation out of the Florida weather, both ground level, upper altitude, and around the world at the contingency landing sites. On the Dragon spacecraft, Dragon mission director and that team has reported no issues. They've done their communications checkouts. The crew access arm that you can see is retracted away from the Dragon spacecraft. We armed the launch escape system on time. And on the right-hand side of the monitor, you can see the 4-person crew
11
strapped
minutes.
in, and they are ready to go. Coming up in about a minute, we're going to get final instructions to
That's
the crew at
Chris
T-minus 10 minutes.
clapping his
We're going to
hands.
configure the crew displays for launch, and that's a setup that'll give the crew insight into
That's
how the launch is
Sian next to
proceeding,
him.
and it'll provide updates on
Second
vehicle
from the
health.
left.
Then we'll get a
Second
little
from the
closer
right
at
is
T-minus
Jared,
5 minutes.
mission
We'll be in
commander.
the terminal count for the
And
Dragon
Hayley is on the
spacecraft.
right-hand
Dragon will go
side.
to internal power.
The
We'll
window
hear
seat,
continued
as
call-outs
they
on
call
the
it.
countdown net as we get close to 0 and a liftoff. Now, next major event coming up right now, T-minus 10 minutes, as I said. Dragon will get its final instructions. We will also do a final series of checks of Falcon 9 telemetry against a preset limits. Make sure that all systems are go. And then we'll be moving from there into the closeouts on propellant, chilling
No,
in at
I'm
the
not
engines to
feeling.
get ready for engine ignition down at
See
about
the
T-minus
Falcon
2
rocket,
seconds.
it's fueling, it's creating
Let's listen in on the
vapors.
countdown net for a minute.
So I guess I am fueling.
Dragon SpaceX, confirm crew displays are configured for launch.
9
SpaceX
minutes.
Dragon, our
It's
displays
getting
are
close.
configured for launch.
9 minutes
Copy
until
that,
they
Dragon.
make history
And it has been
in
an
many
absolute
ways,
honor to prepare you for this historic
and
flight.
potentially open
Today
up
you are
space
truly
a bit more.
inspiring the world. We wish you a great mission, good luck, Godspeed, and enjoy the ride.
I promise you, as soon as the launch comes to about 1 minute, I'll shut up and you can hear the commentary and the countdown.
So, Kate, it looks like we passed through another event, the T-minus 10-minute call up to the crew to reconfigure. That final message from the ground team as they get ready to have Inspiration 4 team inspire the world. On the Falcon 9 side, we're doing the last T-minus 10-minute checks. And the next major event coming up, I think you've got that event.
Yeah, that was, I just want to note, that was SpaceX Core, which stands for the Crew Operations and Resource Engineer. That was the voice of Sarah Gillis, and she is basically the primary resource to the crew. We can see some excitement there on the right-hand side of your screen as the crew, I think they're really starting to realize that they're going to space in under 10 minutes. Now, the next major event that we have coming up will occur at T-minus 7 minutes. You'll hear the call out for engine chill. Engine chill is simply, as the name says, we chill down some of the hardware in the engine. We're actually going to flow a little bit of the super chilled densified liquid oxygen through the turbo pumps and allow that hardware to basically come down, the temperature come down. This allows us to avoid any thermal shock to the hardware when the full flow of super chilled liquid oxygen occurs at startup. So there on your screen, Dragon Resilience with the Inspiration 4 crew strapped in their seats there at the top of the rocket. Once again, if you're just joining us, this is the first all-civilian mission to orbit, and they are going to space in 7.5 minutes. They will be ascending to an altitude of 575 kilometers above Earth and orbiting Earth at that altitude for 3 days. There's that crew there on your screen. On the far left seat is Chris Sembroski.
Yeah, so they're going to spend 3 days in space at an orbit of 575 kilometers. That's higher than the Hubble Space Telescope and the International Space Station. And it's not often that astronauts go to such an orbit. Usually it's much closer.
We don't really have a good view, but right now it's
Only times they basically go out to a greater distance is when they go to the moon, which hasn't happened in, what, many years, 1970s.
15-2 seconds. Nice view on top of the fixed service structure looking down at Dragon. The transporter erector, or strongback, is currently still clamped onto the second stage right next to the vehicle. We'll see that retract starting about 4.5 minutes before launch when the arms open up, and then the strongback will recline away a couple of degrees. What we're getting ready for
load complete
right now is that call out. We're right on time. The fuel load, the RP1 kerosene, refined petroleum 1, rocket propellant 1 grade, is loaded onto the first stage. So that leaves us with just liquid oxygen loading continuing on both first and second stage. And you can see that moist Florida air slowly breezing by the 2 chilled down liquid oxygen tanks. And you can see the mist coming off as the moisture, the humidity, and the air condenses and gives you those clouds.
Yeah, that super chilled liquid oxygen coming into contact with the ambient Florida air.
5 minutes to go.
So
Welcome to the unknown
these
experience.
puffs of white clouds, as John said,
So it's 5 minutes to the launch of the Inspiration 4 on a Falcon rocket.
Lock's load completes, and those lines are closed off.
Destination 575 kilometers
Coming up
above Earth.
in just about 10 seconds, we should be hearing the call that Dragon has been transitioned to its terminal count configuration.
Dragon has transitioned to configure for terminal count.
Falcon 9 tanks are pressurizing for strongback retract.
Everything continuing to go on schedule. We're beginning to pressurize the tanks. That'll help stiffen the second stage up as the 2 hydraulic clamp arms will open up coming up here very shortly.
Strongback is lowering.
In 3 minutes time, I'll keep quiet from there for
As you
about
can see on the timeline
3
there,
minutes
at the bottom of
until
your screen,
separation.
the strongback retraction is the next major event. In fact, the last physical event or modification to the pad prior to liftoff.
Remember to smash the like button, please.
Falcon 9 is nearly fully loaded with almost 1 million pounds of liquid kerosene and liquid oxygen. And that liquid oxygen is what we see venting there, those white clouds. All right, and there on your screen, you can see that the strongback is beginning to retract.
Strongback
And Kate, that strongback will move back just a couple of degrees you see here Then at T0, when the Falcon 9 sends the liftoff command to the ground to release it, hydraulics will bring that strong back the rest of the way to about a 45-degree position at liftoff.
Stage 1 LOX load complete.
We've got the call out right on time. First stage liquid oxygen loading is complete. Shutting down the ground.
You can see the difference
pumps.
on the Dragon
We're down to just
capsule. You
loading
can see the
second
line.
stage liquid oxygen.
Just under that line, underneath that cone, is the last load.
Under 3 minutes until the launch of Inspiration 4.
Dragon has transitioned to terminal count and is on internal power.
All right, and there's that call out that Dragon is now running on its own power. It is no longer connected to the power systems of Pad.
Okay, guys, I'm going to try to keep it quiet from
the crowd is super excited
about a minute from
here
now.
at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California, as we are now under 2.5 minutes
I'm not going to promise
until the launch of
anything.
the Inspiration 4 crew. That crew there can be seen on the right-hand side of your screen, buckled in and ready to go.
2 o'clock in the morning here.
Stage 2 LOX load complete.
And there's the call that Stage 2 LOX load is
Good luck
complete.
and Godspeed.
Falcon is now fully loaded with all of its
Gas
propellants.
closeout will begin shortly. Expect loud venting.
Announcement to let the crew know that as we vent off various lines on the launch pad, we'll hear some loud noises. Let the crew know that's planned. We're also right now draining the liquid oxygen out of the transporter erector, draining the lines, getting ready for launch. Waiting for the startup call at T-minus 1 minute.
FPS is on.
1 minute.
Dragon is in countdown.
You can hear the cheers. We're inside 1 minute.
Go for launch.
Inspiration 4 is go for launch. Punch it, SpaceX.
Commander calling
T-minus 30
down.
seconds.
Punch it, SpaceX.
T-minus 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. And liftoff. So thank you. Go Dragon. Go Falcon. Godspeed Inspiration 4.
Copy, 1 Alpha.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
T plus 30 seconds. Callouts indicate nominal. Historic mission flying the Inspiration 4 crew. Onboard Dragon and Falcon 9. Great view of the crew in the capsule. We're into the throttle down, into the throttle bucket.
Stage 1 throttle down.
Throttling down in preparation for the period of maximum dynamic pressure.
Awesome. The
Minute of
crackle
flight.
of those Merlin engines. Mark 1.
Stage 1 throttle up.
We're through the period of maximum dynamic pressure.
Copy,
We're
1
throttled
Bravo.
back up, and 1 Bravo, the call out from space. That's one of the abort sequences. That is a nominal call. Everything continues to be good. Looks like a smooth ride for the crew.
20 kilometers.
Okay, we heard the call out. MVAC-D is chilling. We're beginning to get the turbo pump ready on the second stage.
Anytime now, you'll see the plume starting to become bigger.
Everything continues
That's
to
because
look
the
nominal.
atmosphere is thinner up there. Almost up to separation.
Merlin engines are throttling down for G limiting. 4 Gs, we're holding it there for the crew.
Almost.
Major event coming up will be main engine cutoff, followed by stage separation, looking at the second stage engine nozzle, and then ignition of the second stage.
And Miko.
Stage separation confirmed.
Separation. Vacuum Merlin left.
There was a call, and you can see on your screen there on the right-hand side that the second stage has ignited. That's the MVAC engine. I'm sure the crew felt another kick in the G's there as it ignited. Officially, the Inspiration 4 crew are now
You can see the
on
grid
their way to
fence
space.
there on the first stage.
There on the left-hand side of your screen is making its way back down to Earth. The grid fins have popped out to assist with the steering. It will be making a landing attempt on our drone ship. Just read the instructions.
You'll see the Merlin
which is
engines
parked
on the
out,
first
in vertical
stage
position in the
relighting
Atlantic
to slow
Ocean.
it down for the landing
Yeah, so we have
on
a
the drone
couple
ship.
of views on
Acquisition
screen.
of signal, Bermuda.
As Kate mentioned, left-hand side is a view from the top of our first stage looking down. That has already separated from the second stage, and it's making its way back to Earth. The velocity of the first
Dragon
stage
SpaceX, trajectory nominal.
is being tracked on the bottom left-hand side of your screen. On the right-hand side of your screen is a view of our second stage Merlin vacuum engine. On the opposite end of that engine is the second stage and the crew, which sits on top of the second stage. Everything looks to be going normally with them. And you can also track the velocity on the second stage on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. We also have awesome views of the crew inside of their capsule as well.
I'm pretty sure during first stage ascent, I saw Dr. Sian Proctor. I'm pretty sure I saw Dr. Sian Proctor give us 2 thumbs up. I'm sure she enjoyed this ride that she's been waiting for her entire life.
One notable thing too is we're getting some twilight views. The sun just set in Florida, but we're high enough up where the light around the horizon is also reflecting off of very high altitude objects, such as the first and second stages.
Dragon SpaceX, trajectory nominal.
Love to hear that call out, trajectory nominal from the guidance engineer. Also notice we're really up there now, well past 100 kilometers.
I can see the crew is quite excited.
Just before that view switched, we saw some
Going great so
teammate
far.
fist bumps going on there inside of the
Awesome.
cabin.
You can see the
They
drone
look like
ship
they're having a fun ride there.
any minute now.
And their journey isn't over. We've got about 7 more minutes
see the
until Dragon separates
Engines
from
on
the second
the
stage.
first stage.
Yes,
relighting,
next milestone for this
slow it
mission is
down.
actually going to be happening on the first stage. It's going to be performing a re-entry burn that's going to be coming up around the T plus 7 minute and 30-second mark. That burn is used to slow down the first stage before it re-enters
Although
the
it's still
denser
quite
parts
high.
of the atmosphere.
Still on 160.
A few minutes later, it will execute a landing burn and make an
161.
attempt to land on our drone ship that's
Still
currently parked in
traveling
the
at
Atlantic Ocean.
5,000 kilometers.
Dragon
more than
SpaceX,
5,000.
trajectory nominal.
Dragon copies.
So far, I'm just going to say, so far, everything looking great for the Inspiration
Now
4
you'll see
crew.
the
Hearing that everything is proceeding nominally there with
booster
the second
number
stage, which is
1
what you see on the
or
right
stage
side.
1.
HD propulsion nominal.
Speed up for a
I was
bit
just going to say that
before it
MVAC
slows
engine
down.
we just heard now is looking nominal.
About a minute left to go before the first stage performs its first burn.
And on your left-hand side, looking at the first stage, you may see those white puffs. Those are the nitrogen puffs helping to steer and guide the vehicle, basically.
Dragon SpaceX, trajectory nominal.
basically is the attitude control for the vehicle as it makes its way back down to Earth.
There's the crew on the right-hand side of your screen. I think I see some more thumbs up there. Dr. Proctor is clearly excited that she's finally in space.
Dr. Proctor,
Again,
Sian
this mission will
Proctor,
be
she's a
orbiting Earth
geologist
for 3
actually.
days, and they will be at an altitude
Her
of
father worked for
575
NASA. He
kilometers.
relayed
which, if I remember correctly,
signals
Sana, you said
from
that
Guam
is the distance from
for the
Los
Apollo
Angeles to the
missions.
Golden Gate Bridge.
And she's actually taking a thank you note signed by Neil Armstrong that he gave to her dad with her to space. There's the engines relighting on the first stage. It's gonna be over pretty quickly for the first stage as it comes into land.
On the left-hand side is the entry burns, the first of 2 burns on the first stage. Again, this first stage has already separated from the second stage. So the first stage is making its way back to Earth, trying to land, and the second stage, everything is going well. It is headed.
Keep your eyes on the screen to the left.
Actually, there on your screen, you
This is the
can
base
see a
part.
sunrise horizon there with planet Earth just
they show it again.
behind the glowing MVAC engine.
20 kilometers
Stage
altitude.
2 is in terminal guidance.
Slowing down.
Stage 2 in terminal guidance. We're at the altitude. We're working the angular momentum.
Up we
We're
can
getting
see
in the right
the
orbit.
stage 1 landing. Usually it cuts out because of turbulence, I suspect.
So in about 15 seconds, we are expecting
Copy Shannon.
We are expecting
throttle down.
the MVAC to throttle down and cut off in an event called
Second stage is almost at 27,000 kilometers an hour.
Good orbit.
Then it will
At the same time, the first stage
stabilize.
will be beginning its
Here
landing
we go,
turn.
27,000.
And here we have the MVAC. We just saw that it shut off its engine.
There's the orbital path. Made it. I want to see the landing of the booster, damn it.
Nominal orbit insertion. That's amazing news for Inspiration 4 crew.
Here we go. There's the drone ship. Grainy.
An unexplored frontier. The few have come before and
Made
many
it.
are about to follow. The
I
door's
love
open
seeing
now.
it. You
It's
can't
pretty
see it
incredible.
when it happens like that.
Stage 1 landing is confirmed.
Stage 1 successfully landed.
And you can hear the excitement. We just heard from Jared thanking everyone for making this mission possible. The Dragon capsule and crew are in a nominal orbit. In a few minutes here, we'll begin opening that. In a few minutes here, we'll separate from the second stage, and then shortly after that, we'll begin opening that nose cone. At the same time, we landed our first stage on the drone ship.
Dragon
which is
capsule
super
from
exciting.
second
The
stage.
second stage action wasn't exciting enough.
Right.
So there's that MVAC engine, like we mentioned before. It has already shut down in an event known as second engine cutoff. And the
MVAC
crew
engines
are
usually
now
have a bigger cone.
gliding, if you will.
Designed is aimed
The
at
one thing right now
making
is
them
we're
more
coming up,
efficient
just,
in
under 11 minutes
the
of
vacuum
flight.
of space.
We're waiting another
Hence,
minute and a half or so
vacuum
before we
engine.
get into the separation sequence. The second stage is going through a series of events where we make sure that gases are all pushed out of the system. There aren't any what they call disturbance torques. We want to make sure that the second stage is very stable, it's quiet, it's not moving around, it's not doing anything. So we give it a few minutes to actually just vent everything down, then go into quiet mode. Then Dragon will send the command to separate itself from the Falcon 9. It'll be pushed away. Falcon 9 stays in orbit for a while till it eventually comes back to Earth. And then Dragon
The altitude of the Dragon capsule at this
John, you
stage
talked about the
is 202
terminal
kilometers,
count
but that will
earlier,
change. It's
today,
going
and
to
this is almost similar to that. It's like
575.
another check
Sorry.
before the next thing, before the next event that happens.
The beauty of the countdown.
Okay, we're about 30 seconds away from separation of Dragon from the second stage. The view on the left-hand side of the screen is a view of the unpressurized section of Dragon. So it's the sort of back end, the trunk section of the Dragon. So when we do see separation, we'll see that kind of push away from the second stage and make its way into orbit.
Once again, the Inspiration 4 has lifted off from pad 39A. They are now in orbit.
Okay, I'm gonna mute it here for a second. So, a successful launch and landing of the first stage of the Inspiration 4 mission on the Falcon SpaceX rocket. So, very good news so far. Now the next challenge for them is going to be the re-entry in 3 days' time when they splash down in the Atlantic Ocean. I'm not done with the coverage. I want to see if the separation is going to happen anytime soon. Let's transition quickly. There you can see the crew, the camera inside the crew cabin. That's I am with her hands on the panel. She's the geology professor. I see they refer to her as a doctor, but as far as I know, she's a professor of geology. Just going to turn up the volume so I can hear what these guys are saying.
Dehumidifier activation and service section Draco checkouts.
We're going to open up that nose cone.
Yeah, you can see something floating.
Nominal Draco checkouts after separation.
And there's that first view that we have over the shoulders of Commander Jared Isaacman and pilot Sian Proctor. Dr. Sian Proctor is on the right-hand side, and Jared is on the left-hand side. And this is their dashboard for the next 3 days. These touch screens provide them all of the...
Unlike the old NASA missions, they have control panels that's flat screen, much easier, much neater. You can see the effects of zero gravity with a, looks like a toy floating around.
And it looks like it is a
Chris is the closest to the screen, second with her hands on the control panel. Yes, I am. Next to her is the flight commander, Jared, who is also the main financier of this mission. And next to Jared, on the far side, by the window seat, you'll see Hayley.
So in a few seconds here, we are expecting the nose cone to open up, and hopefully we'll be able to see the first views of the Dragon cupola in space.
At least want to continue streaming until we see them opening the nose cone, so we can see that beautiful glass dome.
There we can see that they have just
Cupola,
opened up their
I think
visors.
they call it.
And there is a forward hatch
That's the
inside
control
of
center, I
Dragon
assume.
between the cupola and
On
the
the right-hand
crew.
side.
So when the nose cone does deploy, they won't immediately get to see out the cupola, but once they can get out of their seats, open up that hatch, they'll get some incredible views of space. And on your right-hand screen is Mission Control Hawthorne at SpaceX.
Yep, mission control on the right-hand side.
Once again, the cupola is the observation dome that was installed. It's brand new hardware to this mission. It is in place of what was the docking adapter, the docking mechanism that allowed Crew Dragon
The
to
cupola
previously
she's
dock
speaking
at the
about
International
on the
Space
front
Station.
end of a Dragon capsule.
The fact
It's
that
the largest
stations
window
are
or
destination today,
dome ever sent into space. So that was quite a development. And I'm quite curious to see how it's going to hold up and how it's going to work and what the views are going to be like from it. After all, the largest window ever in space.
First views of the cupola, everything that we've seen on the ground here, it's just incredible, and to see it actually in action with those 360 views is going to be breathtaking for us.
Behind the people giving the commentary on the left-hand side, there's actually an old Dragon capsule hanging from the ceiling.
I can't wait for them to get the first
Extremely
flight out
outdated compared to the
and
one
hopefully
that's
we'll-
actually in space now with this crew.
Hopefully we'll get to see some of their reactions when they first look out that window.
I wonder how many cameras they've got inside this crew.
Yeah,
Well,
so if you're
Crew
just
Dragon.
joining us, this is the Inspiration 4 mission, the first all-civilian crew into space. The team,
Keep in mind, this
had a nominal
specific
ascent
mission
out of
is
Pad
almost
39A
entirely
into the
automated.
Space Center,
So
and
the
are
crew
currently
has been
in orbit
trained
around the Earth.
in how to operate the
What an
Dragon
incredible
craft. If it's
place
needed,
to
they
be
can jump in
right now when
and
we
assist
can
and do
say
what they
we
need
have
to do.
now put 4 civilians into space, into orbit. It's been an incredible journey for us to get here. You know, we didn't do this alone. There's a lot of history working with our partners, NASA, to get us to this point. A lot of efforts with reusability.
There's a lot of excited people in that control room, I'm sure.
Particularly, we've reflown the booster 3 times. Dragon, we flew for.
Yeah, this particular booster has been flown 3 times. The one that they used yesterday or the day before was for the satellite launch, the Starlink launch, was used 10 times, and that particular booster was one of 2 that has been used 10 times already. A long way that reusability has gone so far.
Okay. And it's just wonderful to know that the access to space has opened up. I believe in the note that Jared relayed back to ground. He said that the door is wide open and the view is spectacular. Of course, they can't quite see out through the dome just yet.
Yeah, if you've just joined me, this is the unknown experience with me, Quiz, or JP, whichever you prefer. We're checking out the launch, the live launch of SpaceX and the Crew Dragon with Inspiration 4. Do me a favor, smash the like button, well, if you like it, and also subscribe if you are interested in future space updates or related issues.
We injected to 575, then we'll begin circularizing the orbit. But more importantly, we got into contact with the ground station in England, and they confirmed the nose cone is open.
Amazing.
So another major event, the hooks that hold it down have opened up, and then the nose cone
Apparently the
deploys
nose
itself
cone
up
is open.
on
I
its
wonder why
actuator.
they're not
So
showing
that
it.
exposes the cupola, and we're going to see if we might
Come
get any
on.
kind of view here before we sign
Don't
off.
tell us it's open,
Yeah.
show
And
us.
as you mentioned, we aren't going to the International Space Station. We're actually just going out into space, into orbit. So
If
they
there's
will
an
be
echo
doing
on the
a couple
volume,
burns.
on the sound,
Another
just
one will
let me know in
be,
the
or the
comment
first one will
section,
be
please, so I can see if I
45
can
minutes
fix it.
into flight, and then another 90 minutes into flight, and that'll take them to their final orbit of 575 kilometers away from Earth.
So these 4 human beings are literally gonna be the farthest out in space of any human being, currently at least. The space station is closer. There's no one working on the Hubble or any other space stations that I know of. I'm not sure how far out the Chinese space station is. I'm picking up an echo, I'm not sure. Let me know in the comments if there's an echo.
And spend the next 3 days orbiting planet Earth. We'll be checking in periodically with the crew to see how they're enjoying their first trip to orbit and to check in
I
on
just
those
wish
360
they
years
would
of space.
keep that statistic on the side that shows you what the altitude is or the distance from Earth is, so you can see it increasing as it happens. And some more footage. They said they opened the front end of the Dragon with a glass dome, the cupola is situated, and they don't show it. I want to see it.
The FAA for launch approval, and of course the Inspiration 4 crew for their confidence.
Yeah, let's just hope the FAA is going to be kind in terms of future SpaceX launches. I'm thinking Starbase related, but there's a lot of infrastructure still to be completed there. the water deluge system, basic infrastructure on the starbase, like the fuel farm and so on, launch tower. Okay, the catch arms are still gonna be quite some time before it's finished. On the first orbital launch attempt, that won't happen. Okay, it seems like they're done for now. Okay, thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. Do me a favor, smash the like button as always if you like the content, and if you would like to receive future updates space related, especially SpaceX. Subscribe, share my content, and I really appreciate you guys watching. Join me again for a future launches, and specifically the orbital launch attempt for the Starship that's coming up either later this year or early next year. But thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you again.